I know I've been going on and on about how I love seafood and particular things I like albacore tuna, I like halibut, like crab. I really like BC honey mussels as well. And at the 2010 Chefs Congress here in Providence Farm at British Columbia's beautiful Cowichan Valley, we're talking honey mussels now with Dale Williamson. And Dale, what makes a honey mussel as opposed to just a regular mussel?
Well, it is a BC mussel. It's not just an exotic mussel that's actually grown here like a lot of products. We do grow two other varieties of mussels in British Columbia. One's from the Atlantic and one's from the Mediterranean, but this is actually from BC. The qualities of this particular mussel, they're a lot, it's sweet, and that's where the name comes from. The shell itself has actually got an amber color to it, but it is the sweetness that it is. It's almost, it's high in fat, so it has like a prawn, you might say. The first initial taste, our mussels are very plump. Our chefs are endorsed by the best chefs in Canada. They use it from Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver. Any other questions?
Um, I mean, as far as Canadian mussels are concerned in general, we seem to get flooded with PEI mussels all the time, and that'll be a discussion for next year in Newfoundland. But why don't we see more BC mussels in our grocery stores here?
Well, one of the things about our mussels in British Columbia is it's a sustainable one in the sense that all our seed is actually produced. The difference of mussels in most places in the world is actually it's a cross between fisheries and farming. What they do is Mother Nature actually produces the mussels on the beach or out in the ocean till they're, say, approximately about 20 centimeters or in length, 20 millimeters in length. And then what they do is they take them off the lines and then they only really farm them for the last part of their life. So one of our problems here is seed. We need to get more seed available to us. You can just hang a rope out in the water and say somewhere like PEI and it's coated in mussels. But because we grow generally exotic mussels here, or in our particular case, a particular strain of local mussels, we have to make it in a hatchery. And that's true about oysters, clams, salmon done in hatcheries. So there's an infrastructure that's involved in there. And we have to learn on how to actually grow them. And like I say, when Mother Nature does it, there's no real having to think about it, right? But when we do it, there's a whole learning curve. I mean, as we say, we've killed millions of mussels learning, right? But, you know, we've learned. And it's there's a whole beginning part to our mussel growing. Now, it will grow. Mussels are pretty new in British Columbia, and a lot of people are finding that mussels are a lot more usable, and they do have a delicious and tenderness compared to oysters and clams. And so it's a really growing thing. I mean, you see it more and more on menus all the time. Like I say, as a farmer, we started growing the Atlantic mussel and the Mediterranean mussel first, but we've evolved into this, and it's doing really well for us, actually, really well.
What's your favorite way to enjoy your mussels?
Simple with these particular mussels. Like I say, they're so good on their own, but you say just a little bit of a wine or leeks and onions, that kind of thing. You don't want to really mask our particular mussel because it can really stand on its own. It really does. It has a delicious aftertaste. They say just so sweet. So sweet.
When chefs and consumers alike are taking delivery of mussels, purchasing mussels, what should they look for to make sure that they're fresh and good?
Well, one thing that we do, the harvesting end of it is like the real important part about it. It's the handling at the end when you go to harvest, because that develops into its shelf life. And our saying always is, you're only as good as your worst mussel in a bag. So we ensure that every mussel has its byssal, that's the attachment threads that grow on it, still in the mussel. Because if that's torn out, it also affects the gland inside and it's slowly starting to die. So, and we're very sure about that they're not cracked mussels. So that's a good way to start to make sure that you've got a good quality mussel, and it shouldn't really have any sort of funny smell. It should just smell like the ocean, really, the water characteristic about it. But we get an excellent shelf life out of our mussels, 10 to 12 days, which is really beyond what most other mussels are. And that's sort of what happens from I would have to say, an artisan type farm to where you step up to the industrial farming where now machinery becomes part of it. Kind of like the analogy of hand-peeled shrimp versus machine-peeled shrimp. And most people recognize that analogy, right? So, and we work very strongly on the quality end of things. You know, you stick with quality, hopefully the quantity will come.